Do you like fertilize that thing, or
there's no taming the goatee, man? Is it straight like any wild hairs pointed the wrong way or anything?
No, it's pretty much straight.
Okay.
I mean, I could never get. Oh, hey, welcome back. We're gonna.
I trimmed before this. I trimmed like 3 inches off just to make sure it would fit in the shot.
Yeah, good luck with that. Anyways, welcome back to the Active Directory Jumpstart. As we're working with Active Directory in PowerShell. Other words, using PowerShell for Active Directory. Now we're going to start to deep dive, and this is where we're going to be jamming demos left and right. So we're going to start off with, if you take a quick look, working with users and groups. You know you got to spend a lot of time with users and groups. So let me show you what we're going to be doing. It's really simple, guys. Well, the titles are really simple. We're going to be creating, updating, and deleting. Told you it'd be simple titles, but the demos are, that's too hard. But the demos are going to be really important. And the first thing that we're going to be starting off with is creating users and groups.
Yes.
And so you've got the hard job. You got to teach me about, now there was an old way to do this that was brutally painful if you were like VB scripting and using ADSI. And then there's this new way with using commandlets that is wonderful and beautiful.
Right. So just for those who have not had the pleasure of using ADSI. Now, I bash ADSI a lot, but really stand-up programmers, that's what they use every day. So I don't want to bash it too heavily, but I'm an IT pro. I'm not going to be using all that extra stuff, right? And it's not, I can't memorize that code. I have to copy and paste it from somewhere, usually. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the way that we used to do it. And it's the same way we did it in VB script and any other thing. But now to me, I'd rather pull out my fingernails and type with bloody fingers.
Go ahead and show us the pain and the suffering that we used to do, but show us briefly because I don't want to get hurt.
Right. So here we go. We've got ADSI, and this is called a type accelerator here, ADSI, which Active Directory Services Interface. And what that does is it actually represents a full Active Directory Services object in .NET. And what I would do is I'd have to connect to the parent container where I want to create the user account. And here's a little foo in here that makes it connect to the right naming context, which is the root of the domain. And so then I have to call the create method on that parent container and tell it I want a user named Alice, and then call set info.
And I remember when in the old days when I would have to teach somebody this in like VB script, it was, you connect to Active Directory, root DSC, and you connect to Active Directory, and then you call the create method, but if you don't set it, it doesn't get written.
Yeah.
So the phrase was always set it and then forget it, right?
Yeah.
And then you can move on, but you got to do that. You got to do that set info, or it doesn't.
Yeah, and the same with updating. So here, if I do a put method on the description, and I give it the text I want in the description, and then I have to call set info again. And then finally, if I want to delete it, I go to the parent container and give it the type and the name of the object to delete. So this is just completely unfriendly and unmodern.
Unmodern, and what's fascinating is that you can still do this. You still script this way with it. There's nothing wrong with that, like you mentioned. But that's the reason for commandlets, was to take some of this pain and suffering out, right?
Right. And so if you have old scripts like that you need to keep around, it doesn't take too much to change this from VB script to PowerShell. Just add some $signs in front of your variables and you're almost there.
You're almost there.
It's not that bad. So anyway, you can still use that if you need it. However, we want to show you some easier ways to do that.
I'm totally good with. So let's start off with creating users and groups the cool kid way.
All right, here we go.
Okay, we got a woohoo. That's
Here
awesome.
we go.
Did you guys woohoo out there? Is everybody woohooing? Because now it's the cool way.
Okay, here we go. So first off, I've got to show you something.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have to show you this because I don't know that there's any other commandlet with this many parameters. Have you ever seen a commandlet? I got to make my screen
folks.
big enough here.
Folks, what he's obviously showing to everybody is that here's the thing. This happens to a lot of us, especially when we first start working with PowerShell. The commandlets are going to have parameters. Those parameters, you might be working with, like get service. It's got a handful of parameters. There's really not that much you can do with it. But when you need to be able to change a large amount of information, that means the commandlets are going to have a large amount of parameters. And as PowerShellers, we often try to find the commandlets that have the most amount of parameters as fun, but also keep something in mind. He's going to show you this commandlet of new AD user. Well, when you make a new user, you need to be able to set things like the phone number, the department, all that information has to be parameterized for you. So Active Directory commandlets, and also I will tell you that, yes, I have seen one longer than that. Exchange.
Oh, okay, all right.
Set mailbox is pretty chewy.
All right. Well, here, the thing is, I can now say -name. I can say, let's see, there's account password. What else do we have in here? Country, change password at logon flag, employee ID, description.
Yeah,
essentially, it's all now just a parameter on one commandlet.
Right. I mean, which some people go, well, they should have made multiple commandlets. It's like, no, what do you want them to do? Make new AD user number 1, new AD user number 2? That would even be more confusing.
So what I want to do is I want to just run new AD user by itself. And the way I'm doing this, by the way, is I'm just hitting the run selection to just run that one line. So I'm going to run this by itself, and I want you to notice down here that it prompts us for a name. This is a mandatory parameter.
Right.
You have to have at least the name. So I'm going to create a new user, Bob here. All right, good. And there was no Bob already in existence. That's
there you
good.
go.
It worked. No problems. So now I have a new user called Bob, and I can say now, if we think about the verbs involved,
if I want information about Bob, I'd probably like to not give me information about Bob, but get.
Get, yeah. Get-AD user. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah,
love it. I love IntelliSense every time I see it. Tab complete, get AD user, Bob. There's Bob. He's got a SID. He's got an object GUID. He's a full stand-up member of the kingdom right there.
Yeah, but you know what? There's some, obviously Bob's missing the stuff that we didn't fill in, like department, stuff like that. Right. Given name, all that kind of stuff.
So let's take a look here. Let's do another one here. We got Ron, new AD user Ron, and I think Ron's already there. Yeah, we got an error. He already exists. So we'll do a get AD user on Ron. Now I'm going to assign him to a variable just because I can. So now I've got Ron in a box.
Okay, got Ron.
Dollar user is Ron. Okay, and I'm going to pipe that to get member, GM. And notice that, wait a minute, Ron's looking a little short.
Wait a minute. All of those parameters of all of those properties that we could set when we looked at new AD user, how come I'm not seeing them? How come I'm only seeing, like a handful?
I'm glad you asked.
Okay, I'm glad I asked too.
So now we're going to do a property star which says, hey, let's get the rest of Ron.
Oh, so the commandlet get AD user doesn't grab all the properties.
It just gets a default property bucket of a few things that are identity related.
Okay, that's really important. So if I want more properties about user objects from Active Directory, I need this dash property, and star means grab all of them.
Right, and now later I'm going to tell you that that's bad. But for now it's good.
Okay, for now it's good, and then later you're going to chastise me and say
it'll be bad
okay.
later. Okay.
I can't wait.
So now we're going to get Ron again, and now when we do a get member, this is going to have a long list of all kinds of properties.
Okay.
There's even his PO box. We can mail Ron if we wanted to. So we've got all these different properties now that we can see that have come back on Ron's account. They really were there. They weren't missing. We just didn't put anything in them. And so by default, you're only going to get a few results back on the properties.
Got it. So dash property is really important.
Yeah. So if I got a new AD user, here's one called PowerShell Ninja. Let's create the PowerShell Ninja there. And then I'm going to pipe that user in that little variable to a set AD object. And here's the reason why. If I type set AD object and I put PowerShell Ninja, or I could type that long distinguished name that I love to hate, that's too long. CN equals PowerShell Ninja, comma, OU equals, so-and-so, comma, DC. I don't want to type all that. So what I do is I'll grab the user in an object and then pipe that to anything I want to do with that user.
And this is the power of the pipeline. With a lot of products that you work with, This is why you want to know and understand how to use the pipeline, because it makes your job a lot easier. When I'm working with Exchange, I'm going to get mailbox on a whole bunch of people and then pipe it to set mailbox. I'm not going to do set mailbox on each individual resource, or what you're just talking about here, setting AD object and then having to type all this in when I can just get the user or users that I want into a variable and then pipe them. The power of the pipeline in PowerShell.
Right. So we're talking about world domination here.
Yeah, the power of the pipeline in PowerShell.
Yeah.
The 3 Ps.
So now I'm going to set a description on his account.
Okay,
and I could
awesome.
put a bunch of different other things on there.
Yeah, you
we'll
can
just keep
do
it
like
simple.
different properties.
Yeah, so now if I do a get AD user, get-AD user, and we'll just say $user there. Oh, look at that. It wants something special. So let's say, well, this is interesting.
Will he take
Let's
his little
do
name?
name. Let's try that.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, he's not happy. He doesn't like that. Let's try $user pipe to get AD user. Okay.
For some reason, he doesn't like the
weird.
variable in there. But
yeah, that is weird.
what was his name, Ron?
It's like the variable's not even there anymore.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
That's a freak accident.
That's a
and
freak
of course,
accident.
it's only going to happen because we're shooting an NBA
live.
video.
I know.
Right.
But can you do
Right.
get AD user
Anyway, so
just on Ron?
So let's do this. Yeah, let's clear this up. Get-AD user Ron. There we go.
There we go.
And there he is. And then I can say get AD user PowerShell Ninja and dash properties star. By the way, properties.
And not property. I know, this throws me off quite a bit. This
There-
is why I have to
yes.
use tab completion.
I just need to offer one. Okay. The long story short, Microsoft is a big company. We have lots of silos. Inside those silos are people creating PowerShell commands for you to use, but they don't talk to the people in the other silos. So, I know that never happens at your company, but it happens at our company. And so when we originally released these commandlets, we had some different naming standards that were created by all these people creating commandlets at the same time. So it should be forever and always PowerShell commandlets and parameters should always be singular. But in this case, we've got dash properties. Also, if I want to target a DC, it's not dash computer name, it's dash server. So there are a few things that are just every we call it domain-specific language. Every product that you use from Microsoft with PowerShell is going to have its own, we'll call it flavor or flair that's unique to that particular implementation of PowerShell, just so you're aware.
And the views of Ashley are considered his own private opinionated views and not a part of the entire MVA, although he's right. It should be property and it should be computer name, and this is one of the reasons why you want to get comfortable using tab completion, because if you do dash PRO, hit tab, it'll get properties rather than just
Right.
property, and that's one of the things to watch out for. What else you got?
So back to the screen. So now I'm going to say properties star, and there we go. We've got all the PowerShell Ninja, and we can see there's his name. Name appears in 3 or 4 different properties or attributes. There's PowerShell Ninja. Let's get up here to description, and where'd it go? Man, I am batting 0.
Wait a minute, there it is, description. Oh, didn't get set.
Okay, trust me, it really works. It really does. Anyway, let's keep moving on. There are funner things that we can do.
Things. Oh, you're
Yeah.
going to do like groups or something? Or, you're going to play with accounts still?
So here's the problem with Ron. Ron is not enabled. He is not ready to roll.
Now, let me see if I got this correct. When you create accounts in Active Directory by default with PowerShell, they are not enabled?
Correct.
Okay, so you either need to, when you do the new AD user, you need to either specify that it gets enabled, or you have to go back later and enable it, right?
Right.
Before anybody can log in as that user.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you were to look at him in the user interface in the GUI, his icon would be different grade some way.
Is it like a little down arrow or something?
Yeah, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that they've changed it over the years from gray hair to yellow hair to blue hair. Who knows what
who
he's
knows
got?
what it is.
What kind of hair he's got now? So sorry about the hair reference, Jason.
Oh, yeah, by the
All right.
No, what they have now is no hair. So
All right. So enable AD account Ron gives us then an error. It says, hey, the password does not meet the length, complexity, or history requirement. In other words, Bozo, you didn't give him a password.
We didn't give him a password when we had made Ron, so.
So I'm going to do this kind of a fancy way. I'm going to prompt for the password as a secure string, and then set the AD account password, and then enable the account.
Okay.
Now, I'm doing this the long way, just for fun. So now say, what is the password?
And what I like is the as secure string. This is kind of one of those things you can do for help desk. It puts it all in stars so that you can't actually see what's being typed.
So now I set the account password, and the new password has to be a secure string data type.
Right.
So there's got to be another way to do that. Well, let's create a new user, Jim, here.
Oh, and this is, okay.
This is doing it all in one shot. So Jim is enabled. His password is going to be this right here. Convert to secure string, this text. Yes, I know it's plain text. Force
the conversion.
The reason why is on this convert to secure string deal. Would you like to explain that? And I could.
Well, no, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, all right.
One of these days I'll open up a PowerShell
After
book
you.
and learn
No,
about
after
PowerShell.
you.
Yeah.
No, after you. So as plain text, see, convert to secure string says that, hey, I've got some plain text in my script. Now that's a no-no. You should not have plain text secure information in a script. So what they did with this commandlet was they said, hey, we're going to tell people that they have to put some extra parameters on there to say, yes, I know it's plain text in my script, but I want you to make it secure anyway. So what we did here on the slide then, or the demo, is we say, here's some plain text. It's a no-no. I know it's plain text. Force this into a secure string, and then pass that as a parameter to the account password.
So that's it. We can make and enable the user and set the password. I'm curious about something, though, and maybe you're going to talk about this, but I'm curious, how come you didn't use something like get credential? Well, I guess then because you'd have to manually interact with it when you were making the user.
And get credential has a name and a password.
Right.
We just need the password half.
I got
it's
it.
kind of a little extra.
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go. We got a new user, Jim, who is enabled. And now if I get -AD user Jim, and I see here he is, enabled is true.
Enabled is true. Yep, everything's
Right.
great. So you could break it down in a script, or you've got a one line that'll do it.
Yeah. Now, let's get on down here. Import CSV.
Uh-oh, sounds like you're going to do some bulk work here.
Yeah, when we advertised this session, we said this is going to be managing your Active Directory environment at scale. So how many of us are going to sit down and write out one whole line of script just to create one user? Probably not, right?
Well, I might do it the first time, but then I'm going to want to automate this because I'm not going to want to do this over and over and over again.
Right. So the beauty of PowerShell with the pipeline, we can do import CSV and pipe that to new AD user. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes it can be that easy. Import CSV, pipe to new AD user. And the reason that works is because on that parameter for that commandlet, we've got -name, it's surname or given name, right, instead of first name, last name, and description, department. We've got all those parameters that'll match up with the column titles in your Excel CSV file. And if all the stars are aligned perfectly, it just works.
But here's the thing. I don't often get to be the person that decides those column names. Sometimes that's decided by an application, HR department.
It could even be an AS400 sending me this data.
I'm sorry, did he just say an AS400? That's the land that I come from, and so
everybody talks CSV.
Everybody talks CSV.
Right.
You're right. This could be coming from an application or something where the column names in the CSV don't exactly match the parameter names on the commandlet. So what do we do? All
right, so let's take a look here. I've got an import CSV here, and I'm piping it to out grid view.
Oh, so you can take a look at it. Okay.
I tell you, these are my two most favorite commandlets in all of PowerShell.
Okay.
Import CSV, export CSV makes the world happy.
Makes the world happy.
And out grid view lets me see.
Let you see it. Got it.
In a real easy way. So here I go. I'm going to take a look at this CSV file. And yes, these are all fake names. If your name appears in this list, then that's amazing because these are all demo names. So here we go. We've got these accounts: SAM account name, given name, surname, display name, department.
That looks like that matches pretty much the parameters on the new AD user command.
In other words, it's a cooked demo.
Okay, good.
Right. Okay. So that would be too easy, right? So we just take those, pipe into new AD user. But what I want to show you here is that I've got all of those parameters in the CSV, but then I want to add some other things like enabled as true and set a password.
Oh, and you can do that. Oh, and there's something I want to point out if you're looking at this on the screen right now, there's a couple of things that what Ashley's done here that may look a little, you may not see it on the screen. Notice that he's got new AD user. Right after that is a backtick. That's a line continuation character. It's hard to see on his screen. That's how he's breaking it up so that it's easier to read. So what you're saying is I can take that import CSV that already has some of the information filled out, but then I still need to enable that user. I might still need to add something. What I can do is just tag those additional things on as I'm doing it. Oh, I love that.
And in a real solution, you would have a random password generator. You would never, ever, ever, you'd never, ever, ever put credentials in clear text in your script. You would have a password generator that then captures these, generates an automatic password for every new user, and then at the end of it, you can use the send mail message commandlet to email the manager for the new hire or whatever, and it says here's their credentials for their first sign-on.
Now this is a great bulk management process for creating users as an automated process, coming right from HR as they're hiring people, right?
Yeah,
I love that.
Especially even school systems. I've worked with school systems where at the start of every school year, they've got hundreds of new students, and they're not going to type those all in, right? So they're doing bulk loads of all the users and groups and so forth.
Awesome. Now, do you have some stuff on creating groups?
Actually, I want to do one so people know that it really works, as long as the demo's...
Okay, if you're willing to risk it, buddy.
I'm going to risk it. So here we've set some other static information, but let's go down the list. Here's one you need to know. By default, they always go to the user's default container.
Right. And
so
then I
here,
have to move them.
So here we can actually set a target path of what OU we want them to go into.
Awesome.
Yeah, now let's create a new OU called new users. Actually, it's still there, I think, in my lab, I'm pretty sure. So now we're going to import a new list of users, but this time you'll see, again, fake names, first space name, last space name. We do not have parameters, properties, attributes, whatever you want to call them, with first space name, right? So we've got to rename those columns. And this is going to get to a little bit of more PowerShell Kung Fu here. And this is the reality of it, though. That's why you're watching an MVA with a Premier Field Engineer who's been there, done that. Right?
Now, one of the most, what I want to point out is if you're looking at the screen, if you watched the MVA on PowerShell, you know what this is. We use this all the time. So if you're not comfortable doing this, you really need to get comfortable doing this. This is creating your own custom properties with your own information. And in your case, you're altering the names of the columns from the way they are in the old CSV to the way that they need to be for the commandlet to work. And what's really, really, really important about this is that you don't want to have to you're not going to be allowed necessarily to edit the CSV. And I want you to think about this. Some guys will say, oh, I'll just go into the CSV and change column
I've heard
names.
that myself.
But I've got 1,000 CSVs coming through today. I don't have time for that. So doing it this way means you do it once, and now it's automated for life.
Exactly. This is automation.
I love the solution you have on the screen, my friend.
Right. This is real world right here.
Yep.
So what we've got is new AD user is in here somewhere, right? But what we're doing first is we want to import the data, do the manipulation on the columns, and pipe it to out grid view so we can visually check.
See it,
and make sure it's doing what we want. So here I've got a name. Now notice it doesn't just say give me first name. It's taking the first 3 characters of the first name and adding the last name to it. And then it's taking that whole thing for 7 characters and it's converting it to lowercase. So we're actually generating a login name, a user ID.
And so you can control your corporate standard of how you want your login names. This is a great example of making sure that this matches what you want it to be.
Now, if it were really, really real world, you would have to do some name checking to make sure it doesn't already
conflict.
Exist. Right.
Yeah.
But this works for today. So then I've got display name. I want to add the first name and the last name together. I've got given name, which is really first name. Surname, which is really last name. So I'm renaming those, and then I'm telling it which OU to stick these new users into. So now, when I view my CSV data coming in, I've got all those generic columns that do match, like employee ID and office, but now I've got a new calculated name, SAM account name, display name, given name. And I want to save you some time troubleshooting, okay? So, when you do a new AD user, make sure when you do your import CSV that you have a name parameter and a SAM account name. The SAM and the SAM security account manager goes way back, okay? So you got those two name properties. Whether or not it says they're mandatory, they are. You have to have those because you will get some weird, misleading errors if you try to import this without a name and SAM account name.
Totally agree. I've run into that for years, and when we were doing the VB scripting and all that. It's just better to just put it all in and get it done.
Also notice, now we're getting ready to bring this in, so I'm doing new AD user, and not only am I creating a password here the wrong way with a single string instead of doing the generator, right?
Right.
But I'm telling it change password at log on is true.
So they're going to be forced to change the password as soon as they sign in, which is the more secured way of setting up.
Obviously, it's not a good idea to create all your new users with the same password.
Yep. Yeah.
Never encourage that in the real world. So here we're going to now cross your fingers. Here we go. We're going to run this. Zip, 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 zip. Look at that. Nice.
I love it. I love it. We got users.
I did not have to retype any of that jazz. So now I do a get AD user, and I've got a unique property here, filter office equals MVA for our demo today. And there are all the new users that I just created with. Really? That's one line of code in PowerShell.
And the thing is now that you have that, you're done. Now you can feed CSVs to this.
Bring me a new CSV.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Then you can automate that. You could even have this as a scheduled task that runs at night, collects all the CSVs, pumps it through. You're done.
Right.
I love this. I love this. What do you got on groups?
All right, let's keep going. Let's do some groups.
Because now it's going to get kind of similar, right? I mean.
All right. So, all right. Here's a quiz for you, Jason.
Oh no, I hate your quizzes.
All right, so if the commandlet to create a new user is new-AD user.
Okay, I know where you're going with this, I think.
What do you think the commandlet name is to create a group in Active Directory?
I'm going to say new A-AD group.
Bing, 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 bing! You got it! All right, here we go. So let's create some users.
Awesome.
Groups. All right, let's get down my... where are we going here? Get past. All right, new AD group. Now, I'm going to do this one a little fancier.
Okay.
I'm going to say root dn here is equal to get AD domain dot distinguish name. So that says, give me the root of the domain.
Okay.
All right. And then I'm going to append in that string here OU equals HR, comma, in front of that. So I'm building out the path dynamically. So here's the beauty of this. I can run this in a test lab in domain XYZ, run it again in production in domain ABC, and it doesn't care. It just automatically puts it in.
And I think you're bringing up a really important point with this is that he's not putting in the name of the domain that he wants the groups created in. He's grabbing that name so that this script doesn't have to be modified when it gets moved, because modifications means mistakes. And so you should make this as generic. It should run anywhere whenever possible. Love that.
Right. So here we're going to create a new AD group. And again, there's a bunch of parameters. But the groups, however, have some other parameters like group scope. So I'm going to create a domain local group.
As opposed to a global or universal kind of
I've
stuff.
got a group category of distribution list as a domain local group. I could do security group and global group and a number of different parameters there. So let's see if these don't already exist in my lab. Let's run this here and see what happens. Hey, look at that.
Hey, there it goes.
New group. I'll do another one under the engineering OU called DL-engineering. That sounds kind of reasonable.
Oop.
Oh.
You got to grab that root.
I don't have an OU called engineering.
Oh, okay.
You know what? This is a great place. Another quiz, Jason.
I'm going to guess new dash AD because that's the prefix.
Right.
And I'm going to say organizational unit.
Oh man, I can't just do OU, can I? I've got to type out organizational unit. No, I don't have to type it all. Tab complete, baby.
Complete it.
All right, and now I'm going to create a new engineering. This is how easy it is to create an OU. Run that, and it created it at the root automatically. So now I'm going to go create my group. Zip, zip.
Oh
zip,
man,
zip,
that's
zip.
awesome. That's
All right.
awesome.
So now I can do a get-AD group. And that was DL-engineering. And there it is. There's my new group in the engineering OU.
Wow. So, and just to kind of remind everybody, if you're doing this with PowerShell, remember, use get-help on the commandlets. You can see all the parameters. You can see definitions of the parameters. So while we're showing you some of the parameters that you need to create groups in this case, or create users, remember, you've got a magnificent help file that has all of this. So do get-help on whatever commandlet you want, -full, and you'll see everything that you need. Anything else on groups? Because we got to talk about updating and deleting too.
This is a useless group.
What do you mean it's useless? How's it useless?
It's empty.
Oh, we haven't added any members to the group. How can we go on without adding members to the group?
Let's put a couple people in there.
Okay.
So
What are you going to do? Just drag and drop them from the graphical? That was a joke.
Yeah, you think you're funny. All right, we got. Let's create. Here's a new SAM account name, new group here. So here, what I'm going to do is say get AD group. Remember, I don't want to type that long distinguished name. I'm going to get the group, pipe it to an add group member.
So it's
add AD group member.
AD group member.
Yes.
Oh, and then you can put in whoever you want added to it. Okay.
Yeah. Now, why is my? Oh! I didn't supply got my red up there. I didn't.
Yeah.
I left out the name parameter. I put SAM account name in there, G_purchasing. There we go. All right. Now we're going to add Ron to that group. Evidently, I didn't test this demo either. Members, Ron. There we go. Hit enter. Oh my goodness.
It doesn't like the...
All right, you know what? Let's do this. Again, this only happens because we're in front of millions of eyes right now. So we'll do this. Let's take this and let's build this on the fly. So it's not just all script stuff. We'll do it for real. Add AD group member, and let's say dash.
And this is a great way to show
identity.
everybody how you're troubleshooting when something goes wrong.
We planned it this way.
We planned this.
Yes.
And just a note to everyone, we planned this. So.
Yeah. So here, let me take out. So we're going to add members. And here, I'm going to say get-AD user Ron. So this says add AD group member. Give it the identity of the group members, Ron. There we go.
There we go.
Now, how often, though, do you only add a single user?
Not very often.
Later, we'll actually get to this in the next piece here on bulk loading users into groups. So, first off, let's talk about updating objects.
Okay, and real quick, I got a slide so the production guys can mark this.
Let's hit that.
As we're talking about updating, now you already did some updating on users with the set AD, so go ahead, take it away. Talk about updating.
Okay. Now, to make this interesting, I thought we would find some attributes that we don't normally update every day.
Okay, what would those be?
So I'm going to query from the schema here, and I see...
Phone number, right?
Yeah. So here's a list of things like user PKS is 12. What? No. How about car license?
Oh, now that's a popular AD property right there.
That is, yeah.
Car license.
Yeah, the security people at the front desk need to know your license plate for the user and all that, right?
Wow, can you pick them or what?
All right. So here we go. I'm going to do new AD user Ron. I'm a test account. Actually, I've got to go whack. Let's do Ronnie. Since
you already have a Ron.
I already have a Ron, so we're going to call this Ronnie. And description, I'm a test account. But here's the thing. Every other attribute doesn't have, all attributes don't have their own parameter.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So you've got to use this other attributes and a hash table with parameter, name, and value.
Important note, if you don't see the parameter which represents the property that you want, that doesn't mean you still can't do it. It's going to be under this other attributes.
Right.
And I think that's really important because a lot of people miss that. They're like, well, I can't change that property in Active Directory. The commandlet's stupid. No, the commandlet's not stupid. It just isn't popular enough.
Right.
And they stuck it kind of in this kitchen sink thing.
Like car license.
Like car license. I mean, how often car license?
Now, quiz.
Quiz?
BR549.
Oh, don't ask me whose license that is. Is it James Bond?
Oh, I got a bunch of these, man. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hee-haw. Were you traumatized as a child by your parents forcing you to watch Hee-haw?
Hey, Bubba, make the user. Hee-haw.
All right, BR549, Cornfield County, right there.
Cornfield County.
Yeah, here we go. I've created a new user now. Set the car license property to BR549.
Okay.
And now if I get AD user Ronnie here and I see that, yes, his car license property is BR549.
Got it, okay.
And because it's in squiggle brackets, curly braces, we know that's a multi-value thing. So he might have multiple cars. Maybe he's got a motorcycle he's going to drive in, right?
Oh, yeah, and so he has...
Or maybe he has I'll give you a clue here. Maybe he drives a DeLorean to work. Does this ring a bell?
Are you kidding me? Are you going to give him... Okay, you're going to... No,
I'm going to replace.
You're seriously? You're calling up the DeLoreans?
Yep, out of time from... Come on.
Well, it's from... What was it? It was in the 80s, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, in the 80s.
Well, the movie...
Back to the...
Future!
Okay, there you go. All right. So we're going to replace his license plate here. And now we see that we've done a replace on a multi-value attribute. And now...
But now what if I wanted to add another one to that, though?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. So let's add here with Ronnie. I'm going to keep updating my little script here.
Oh, you do have an add. So you got
there's an add. There's a dash.
Add.
So what we've done here is we've said, how do I replace a value? How do I add a value? How do I clear a value? So now we're going to add A113.
All right, I give up. A113.
And I would not have gotten this either. But my youngest son is a big Pixar fan. And if you notice in the Pixar movies, there's an Easter egg in every movie. Somewhere you're going to see A113. The story goes something about the one of the classrooms that a lot of these Pixar animator students went to in school, and there's this A113 classroom. So it shows up on license plates, anything where they need some text, that you'll see A113 in Pixar movies.
It is pretty amazing that when you're a geek, how many things you can be a geek about all at once.
Yes, license plate geekness. So here now, finally, I'm going to clear that property.
So just you've created one, you've replaced one, you've added one, and now you're going to show a clear on one of these.
And because it's clear, it doesn't even show up in the results. It's not in the default set.
Yeah, it's not going to be part of that default set.
So the property here, we're talking about updating attributes in Active Directory.
Right. Yeah.
This is how you do it with the set. You could do a set AD user, clear, add, replace, remove.
Now, is it the same way if I'm working with groups?
Kind of, but before we do groups, we haven't really talked about computers yet.
Oh, computers, okay. Yeah.
Because what would be a popular multi-value attribute on a computer account that would affect Kerberos authentication? You know this as an IIS guy.
Oh, now he's making me look stupid because I don't know what he's talking about.
All right,
I don't know, on a computer object,
right.
A multi-valued thing that we'd want?
On a computer account, I've got a bunch of other things in here. On a computer account, let me get down to it here.
Service principal name.
Yes. Spins, service principal name. You get those wrong, and people ain't happy.
And people aren't going to be happy. You got it.
So let's take a look at this server, CV member 1. He's got all these service principal names on there. And now we're going to do a set, and we're going to give it a multi-value. Actually, service principal names is a named parameter that you can use on AD user and AD computer accounts. But now we're going to tell it This is some new syntax. Add, remove in here using a hash table, and we're going to give it the SPN to add. And now when I query back, I'll find there's the HTTP web service for the custom port. Yeah,
you know, I'm so glad that you're giving examples for everybody for this, because you know, you guys you're watching this, and what you're seeing is if you've been working with PowerShell, when you work with PowerShell Active Directory, there are a couple of things that may be kind of unusual. I'm so glad that you put in the syntax for this. For like on the computer, you've got the @ sign : add equals. I mean, that's foreign syntax to a lot of people working with commandlets. So
so we can remove it just as easily here. So we'll remove that. Now, you may be accustomed to using set SPN, mainline utility, to do that. Right now, you can do it with PowerShell, so you can script out that whole thing.
Oh, I love it! I love it! I love replacement of that.
And so now we query it back, and it's gone again. So I did want to make sure we threw that in there.
Oh yeah, awesome!
For updating computer accounts. Now there are a couple things about updating users. And we don't have time to cover all these.
But they are in the wonderful scripts that you're giving everybody.
Yes. Set AD account control, set AD account expiration, set AD account password. User account control, I've got a whole thing I wanted to get into, but we're just running short on time here. But there's a user account control attribute, which is a bit flag for user objects, and it defines, is it enabled, is it disabled, is it expired. There's all these bit flags that you have to know. You have to go look up the KB or the MSDN article every time. You got to do these anding. It's really ugly. All right, so now we have some commandlets built in to make user account control very easy for some of the more popular bit flags on there.
Now, some of them, I may not be remembering this correctly, but on the user account control, is it stuff like, you know, when's the last log on, or stuff like that?
No, that's properties. This is an actual.
That's properties.
Like, we're talking ones or zeros here that says on or off. When you go into the manage the user, and you got all those check boxes.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. Those bits are those check boxes.
Okay, got it.
Like des only, stupid stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we're going to say password never expires on Joe user. That's because I can't find Joe user. I don't have a Joe user account. All right.
That's okay. But
I know we've got Ronnie in there. Let's change this to Ronnie real quick.
Password never expires.
So we can give him infinite power now.
That's what everybody does.
Password never expires.
Don't.
We would rather you do this one. Password never expires. False. Don't you love that double negative?
Yeah, I love that double negative.
All right.
I can't live without that.
Unlock -AD account.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
So enter the account, and then you can unlock it.
Yeah, so I can just do this. And LAN. It's going to tell me the account wasn't locked. Well, there we go. It works. So I've got another shortcut out there for the help desk that you can plug in. Same thing we did the reset password.
Yeah.
Do the same thing. Double click, unlock account, next.
That's awesome.
All right.
You know, I really want you to talk about deleting at some point, because do we have like a delete star.start?
Well, we're going to go a little long on this one.
Okay.
We're just going to have to.
Hang with us.
I've got a scenario that if I don't cover this scenario, people will riot.
Well, then I say we cover the scenario, mister.
Yes, we have to cover the scenario. Oh, boy. A couple things here. One of the most popular blog posts I have is how to copy attribute values. So let's say I've got first name, last name, department, and I want to put that in the description of the user. How do I do that? So here's a quick example. This is not the riot scenario, though. So I'm going to get AD user, and then I'm going to grab just the first 5 of those. I'm going to set the user object and replace the description with this concatenated string of given name, surname, department. Okay. So there's a whole blog post out there on that as well. I just wanted to get that in. So we've got to talk about updating groups and their memberships across domains. And all of a sudden, did you hear that? Did you hear people cheering?
Wait a minute.
Did you hear people cheering out there?
Wait a minute. I'm not so sure okay, I hear people cheering, but I'm not so sure I understood. You're saying we're going to update group membership across domains. Did you say across domains?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. That anytime I've tried to do anything like that, I get all these problems with trying to go across domains, credentials, all kinds of stuff.
Right. That's what we want to talk about.
Is this the riot thing?
Yeah, this is the riot thing.
Okay, because this would be totally awesome, because this is a huge problem solver.
All right, now I have to tell you, though, if your Bing skills are up to snuff, and you type in, yes, you type in some search criteria about this issue, you will find a blog post from 2009 that explains the scenario.
So I've been using the wrong search engine. That's why I haven't found the blog.
Exactly.
Oh, I should be using the correct search engine.
Right.
I would have found the blog and solved my problem years ago.
Right. Okay. 2009. The Active Directory product, I should say the Active Directory PowerShell team has a defunct blog with a bunch of posts from 2009. Okay. Great guys. They're just busy. And so what happened was when we released 2008 R2, the new commandlets came out. They did a whole big rash of blog posts and nothing since. So then you can go to my blog and get the rest of the story. So anyway, on that blog, there is a scenario just like this that talks about when I try to update like a universal group that contains members from outside of the domain, all of a sudden things get ugly.
Yeah. And I've had problems with this. I know a lot of people have problems with this, so this is great.
Right, so we've got a group called legal, and I want to add a bunch of users to it. So this is a popular scenario. Get AD user filter with some criteria we'll talk about later, and I'm going to do a batch add of users to a group, and they're all in my domain, and that works. Okay, so now if I look at the legal group, I've got all those members in that group now.
Okay.
Right, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
But I'm going to flip over to a different forest now, because this forest that I'm going to demo now specifically has a root domain, a child domain, and then one of those goofy disjointed name domains that doesn't really fit. So I've got 3 different domains in the forest, and one of them is not even named like all the other kids.
Okay.
All right, so in this case, I'm on a 2008 R2 box. I've got to import the module first before it'll let me do anything. So now I've got a root, child, disjointed domains. And if we look at the forest here, we can see I've got some different sites. I've got some different domains in there. And I look at my global catalog servers. There they are, dca.wingtiptoys.local, corpdc1.corp, and then we've got WWI, which is Worldwide Importers, DC1, disjointed.
And disjointed, yeah, completely
Worldwide
separate
Importers.
domain thing, yeah.
Wide World Importers, excuse me. Yeah, make sure we get the right fictitious company name
Names
there.
out, yeah.
Wide World Importers. So if I do a get AD domain, I can specify each one of these domains to target that and bring back the domain header information.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to create a new group called Universal Group Test. And I'm thinking I left that. It still exists. Let's do this. Here's how to delete a group, by the way. Remove-AD group, surprise, UG_test. And I'm going to get that guy gone. Are you sure? Notice this confirmation prompt. When you use the remove commandlets, it always says, are you sure? Yes.
Do we have a dash force on that if we just want to?
There probably is. I don't remove groups every day. So, all right, so we just created our new security universal group here. And now I'm going to add a member from the local domain. Get AD user guest is going into this test group.
So this should work just easy peasy.
Right.
Okay.
Now I'm going to say add a member guest from the corp.wingtiptoys.local domain. I'm adding that.
This is the child domain, right?
Right.
Okay, so you're doing it from a different domain. You want to add a user into the group, into my top level domain, my root level domain.
Now, if I were a swindling betting man, I would bet you $1 right now and have you bet that this was really going to work.
That was going to work?
Yeah. Let's watch it. Let's see what happens here.
Okay.
All right. No dice. And
this is the problem that I run into.
And this is what I need to get a T-shirt that says a referral was returned from the server.
This error message just makes you kind of want to go.
It's like we're not sure what happened.
I think I am going to get a T-shirt that says, "Hey, maybe if somebody gets some T-shirt made, let me know."
Yeah.
A referral is returned from the server.
Yeah. So here we go.
I don't know.
And AD has a number of these funny ones so let's try it again. Let's do localhost port 3268, the global catalog.
Got it.
It's got to be in there, right?
Right.
It's in the global catalog. Let's try that one. Another error, and I love this one too. The server is unwilling to process the request.
I'm sorry, I bought you, I paid for you.
Exactly.
You process the request when I say process the request.
Right now.
However, this is kind of leading me to an idea, though. It's unwilling to process the request?
Yeah, and I have to put a little side note here, sidebar. In PowerShell, we have something to handle this called error action on a command parameter. I can just say -error action, silently ignore. And that would work if you weren't using the Active Directory commandlets. They ignore those. Yeah.
Oh,
you have to put your own little try-catch and error. It's ugly. So just be warned. So now let's do this the right way. Add AD group member, and we're going to say get AD user and target that server. So we're doing a query to the remote server that actually has that identity.
I see.
Here's the problem. If I do an add AD group member, I'm looking at my local DC.
Right.
I can't look at two DCs at the same time. So what I have to do is I have to do this sub-expression to target one DC to get the account, and then target my local DC to add the account.
And this parenthetical, and we talk a lot, and when you're learning PowerShell about the use of a parenthetical, the parenthetical gets executed first. So what's happening here is we're going out to that other DC, getting that user, then doing the add group member to your current DC's group. Okay, I'm starting to understand what's happening here.
And so it has to go talk to that other DC and says, hey, give me your address again. Look at that. What happened?
It looks like it worked to me.
It worked. Yeah.
You're making me real happy. I don't see any red stuff on the screen.
So I'm gonna run another
one.
Yeah. This guy's not even named. He's like not even a member of the family. He's got a different name. And so now we're all good. And so now I go view the members of this group, get AD group property members, and actually let's run the commandlet get AD group member. That's even easier to read. And now it shows me, here they are, and it has the SID of that remote domain. It's got, actually this is our local domain, let's look at the others. It's got the object GUID, the SID of the different domain SIDs portions in there that you can read. It's actually got real stand-up members there. And then the other problem that you have is when you try to remove that user. This is the other piece of the equation. I want to add them, I want to remove them.
Yeah.
It blows chunks when it does this. It just doesn't work either. So now I'm going to say remove. The same way I did the add, I'm going to try to do the remove. Okay. I'm going to go get the remote reference and try to do the remove.
It's not working.
Again, it's just not happy. So the reason I'm showing you this is because we want you to learn how to do this the correct way, right?
Oh,
so now I would say, well, what if I just specify, I know the distinguished name is referenced in the group. Let's try that. And let's remove that. No, that doesn't work either. I'm playing this up. So here what we want to actually get to then is I want to see the members property. I'm going to expand that to see who are those members. There they are. They're the members. And we have to actually circumvent the group commandlets and do a set AD object and pass in that remove parameter we did earlier and tell it member equals and then give it that distinguished name reference to that other group.
Wow.
This is kind of a pain.
Yeah, this is definitely more complicated. But
now we could put a string in there, but we're just getting a live reference.
Now that you've shown it to us, though, you can. I mean, this is something that you can now solve. I mean, you solved the problem. So, but yeah, I would not have thought of using set AD object to remove one of these members from the group that was from a different domain. But that's awesome.
Yeah. So. When you're working with AD objects, you've got the AD user, AD computer, AD group, AD organizational unit, these specifically tailored commandlets that will target that type, that class of object directly, and they do some special handling. So for groups, it makes it easier to see the type of group that it is, and instead of having some obscure number, it translates that into the category and scope of the group. All right. In this case, we're using set AD object. And that's what I do when I want to override those customized commandlets to get straight at the AD object and manipulate things myself, look at parameters that are properties that may not be exposed through the other commandlets.
Now, I think that's really important what you just said, because now I understand. AD object. One of the questions has always been, well, if I got AD user and I got AD group, what do I need this AD object for? And I like the way you describe that, to override those, get me to the object and everything that it can do.
Right.
So if the commandlet AD user, AD group is not doing what you need it to do, go try AD object and see
Right.
what that does.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have a delete star.star? I hope not. That would be bad in Active Directory.
That would be a career limiting move, wouldn't it?
I do have a slide on deleting, though.
Yeah, why don't you throw that up there?
Okay, so now we're going to talk about deleting. You've actually done some like removing of users from groups already. Matter of fact, you kind of showed us how to remove a user, but in general.
So we're going to button this up real quick here. So get AD user filter start. We're going to whack a batch of users.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
Ooh.
So we know there's remove -AD whatever. Remove AD user, AD group.
Are you telling me that it's going to be this simple? I just grab a list of users and just pipe it to remove AD user?
I'm going to tell you it's that easy.
Okay, what's -whatif going to do?
All right, my buddy Ed Wilson.
Oh, yeah, scripting guy Ed Wilson, along with scripting wife.
He likes to say, have you ever ran... Don't raise your hand, okay. Have you ever ran a command in production and you weren't sure what it was going to do?
Dude.
Dude.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because Ed always says
dude.
Dude. Have you ever run a command in production and you weren't sure what it was going to do? Of course. I've been wanting to run a command in production and I was not sure what it was going to do.
So here I go. I say, what if? And it says, if you really were going to do this, I would perform the operation remove on the target.
Yeah, and I'm a huge -whatif fan. Any kind of command that's going to do something that's possibly destructive to your system, -whatif will tell you what it would have done had you not used -whatif. I love that.
Right. So it's like running with scissors. You know, they don't want you to hurt yourself, right?
No, it's not like running with scissors. It's like saying don't run with scissors.
Don't run with scissors.
If you run with scissors, you will get hurt, so don't do that. Yeah.
So next we're going to take the scissors and put them in like a foam container so that even if you did trip on them, that you'd have a chance.
Okay.
All right. So
a foam container. That's great.
So when you do remove anything in Active Directory, if I run this, I get this, are you sure?
So it wants confirmation.
Are you sure? Do you really want to remove all these users? And in this case, I'm going to say no to all.
Yeah, the confirmation impact level of this commandlet is high, which means this could be really dangerous. So they are pretty much going, dude, wake up.
Right.
And are you really sure you want to do this? Because this could be very impactful. You know, deleting users, losing the SIDs, all of that, this is a major deal.
Unless you have the recycle bin, which we will talk about in a later module in the bonus section.
The recycle bin, the greatest saving thing.
Yes, so let's do this. Here's the dangerous way. This is taking the safety off the chainsaw and getting ready to unleash it on the forest of Active Directory users.
We are going to cut a tree off the forest of Active Directory. Dude, I love how the analogies roll. So -confirm,
taking the safety
false.
off. Right.
That's just going to go do it.
And you would expect to say -confirm space $false.
Yes, you would. Yeah.
But no, it's colon.
It's colon. Okay.
Yeah. So colon false.
I will.
And we run that.
They're gone. They're gone. They're gone.
We just downsized the company.
We just.
That's not even funny.
That's not even funny.
No, that's not.
It's kind of fun, but no.
No, that's not even funny.
Not even funny. Yeah, we downsized the company.
All right.
Okay.
You can then empty the recycle bin if you really do want and make them really gone. Don't do that.
Yeah, we will be talking about the recycle bin a little bit later on. So I'm assuming you do pretty much the same thing with computers and...
Right, remove AD computer. However, computers are a container.
Right.
Some people aren't aware of that. So I don't delete computers every day, but I'm guessing you'd probably want to use the recursive switch in case there are objects
underneath.
Deleting OUs recursively. That's just a really fun treat in the middle of the day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, oh boy.
Yeah. So I think that's about, deleting objects by batches. I should say one thing, and I'm not going to run this, but, okay, this is why you have a PFE in the room. So, yes, you can go delete 100,000 user accounts all at once. However, your domain controllers aren't going to be happy because they like things in small batches. Because what's happening here is you're going to flood the replication path, essentially. If you delete 100,000 objects in one fell swoop, there's things in the back end of the database that kind of get overloaded at that point, and it's just not pretty, and you're flooding your replication. So it's better to stage those deletes in batches of about 5,000 or so at a time, and just let them run about every 15 minutes would be a good threshold there. So this is PowerShell. We haven't done a lot of scripting yet around this, so here's an example of a do-while loop. So I'm going to query, and I'm going to get, whatever class of object it is, result set 5,000. So I'm just going to get 5,000 at a time, and then I'm going to pipe those to remove AD object, and then I'm going to sleep for 15 minutes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Then I have query results, so now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do a query. This time I get back 5,000, 5,000, whack, 5,000, whack. I get back 32 remaining. Finally, when there's nothing left, then it's all done.
This gives the database a chance to get through all of its operations in a clean way by only giving it a certain amount each time.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. This has been a lot of fun. You've come up with a lot of cool ways. So we looked at things like creating users, groups, all that kind of stuff, setting the properties, setting the secret properties, those other attributes that you may not have realized that you could even set. We also looked at, of course, updating and deleting users and groups. And all of these scripts, once again, are going to be available to you with the link that we showed you at the very beginning. When we come back after break, though, we're going to show you how to start to get some reporting information and query Active Directory for the most useful information.